Greetings and salutations. There was no countdown time. I'm Cameron Rossmore. There we go. Greetings and salutations. I'm Cameron Rossmore, and hi, Josh. Yeah, weird. Basically, my computer refused to turn on initially, and I had to poke around at it, and thus I was a little bit late in getting everything set up. So I didn't feel the requirement to give you a full 5-minute countdown into waiting for it to update before I went live. So hi Josh, how's it going? Game's not loaded in the background yet, which is always a fun thing. So hopefully that's the last of the issues for a while. Game's loading up. Yeah, I still need that open. Don't need this open. I'm curious to just double check. Okay. And close that up. Alrighty then. Yeah, I'm not too bad, thanks. Had a long weekend over here. I assume everybody that I'm talking to on the internet isn't actually in the UK. So it's like, when I say had the long weekend over here, I mean in the UK, but, you know, it could have been a long weekend for yourself for all I know. But anyway, yes, had a long weekend, so nice and relaxed. Managed to catch up on sleep, which was kind of a good thing because I was starting to get a little bit worn out. West Wales. Nice. So yeah, rightio. Let's flick over to the game. And let's just switch that into that. But I was at the festival thing. There we go. I've actually remembered for once what I was doing. So yeah, I hope you also enjoyed the Easter weekend. But yeah, for me it was basically a 4-day weekend and not having to work Monday and Friday, so that was good. Right. So I've been asked to go off and do a thing, dispose of the river pirates at a little town. I think I talked to most people here. Oh yes, I was debating on whether I needed to finish up the festival first, or whether I could go off and deal with the river pirates. I think I'm going to go off and deal with the river pirates. I don't think there's... Yeah, participate in the second one. I just need to speak to the guy, but it doesn't say anything about that. Okay, that's talking to them. Octavia is noble family, meeting Patex, can't really get too far away. No man's slave, looking to meet his tribe, and need to find some books to take to Jubilios. I still have no idea where they are, but that's a problem for later. Leaving, Your Highness, won't you stay for the banquet, otherwise you'll miss most important part of the celebration? Of course, it's too early to leave. Okay, so that kind of gives me the hint that I need to stay for this entire thing. So I'm now kind of curious as to whether having to stay for this entire thing is going to... I've spoken for the pirates camp located not far from Little Town. Yeah, it doesn't seem to indicate that it's immediately pressing and cannot do anything else. My inventory is so much lighter since I got rid of a lot of the random stuff. Do I actually have much inventory space? I've actually got it down to light. Your Royal Highness, welcome to the Rushlight Tournament. My name is Nunzio Apari, and I have the honor of being His Highness King Ivareti's Master of Ceremonies. You could say that the organization of this tournament rests on my shoulders. If you need anything, I am at your disposal. I am ready to participate in the boasting contest. Everyone's ready. Let's begin. The tournament continued with the boasting contest. The first participant, a man from Dagmark, stepped up to the podium and told a raunchy story about him sneaking into the Temple of Callistras and seducing all the priestesses, including the High Priestess, in a single night. The crowd was particularly amused by the suggestive glances he kept casting towards one of the guests from Timon. She simply smiled mysteriously in response. The second participant was a guest from Gralton, who told a completely implausible tale about his travels across the other planes, where he battled undead hordes and defeated a blood-curdling monster. He was an average storyteller at best. He'd be lucky to get a C for the story at the Academy, but the listeners were inexplicably elated. Suspicious, we looked closer at the crowd, and, of course, we spotted a bard using some tricks of the trade, and likely a little magic, to aid the Gralton man's performance. We snuck up behind the bard and stabbed him in the back, and disappeared. I mean, it's the easiest one here. I'm just gonna try for the intimidate now. Failed. We tried threatening the bard, but he wasn't born yesterday. He started yelling and crying, calling for the gods, to Ivareti, and to all the gods for help. While we were managing that, the participant from Gralton finished his lying without interruption and stepped down from the podium to undeserved applause. We were disqualified for trying to interfere with an opponent's performance. The indignity of it all. Indignity of it all. There we go. I can read. I mean, I wasn't trying to interfere too much. Just having a word with the guy. I feel that should have had a separate charisma persuasion check to get out of trouble without further aplomb. Your Royal Highness, welcome to the Rushlight Tournament, blah blah blah. I'm ready to participate in the drunken melee. Then let us begin. It will be splendid. Why am I the only one here? Seems to be a little bit stuck. There we go. Get 2 attacks against that person. I'm guessing that these are unarmed. Oh, I killed somebody. Oh well. Probably won't be getting many more sneak attacks like that. If I'd known it was just going to be me, I would have stacked the odds in my favour.
This should do it.
Oh, I'm still getting sneak attack. Well, the odds are still in my favour. I don't think this is supposed to be difficult. Oh, you're an interesting fellow. A little more on the difficult side to punch, but and no sneak attack. I think that might be what's crippling me. Just everybody else I was able to punch with sneak attack and, well, yeah, critically take them out. Learned the results of a tournament. 2 first place and a disqualification shouldn't be too bad. The tournament is finished, isn't it? I'd like to know who won. Yes, Your Highness is His Highness is just about to make a speech announcing the winner. Look, everyone's gathering around now.
Lords and ladies, another rush-like tournament has come to an end. I'd like to
Are you getting game audio?
thank all of you who honored this event with your presence. My friends, I'm happy to see all of you, but I'd like to give a special welcome to one guest who found themselves invited here for the first time. Today, we had the Baron, no, excuse me, it's King now, isn't it? Of a majority of what was once the Stolen Lands. Thank you for coming, my darling. I can call you that, right? I thank you with all my heart. I first learned of him from my friend Stefano Mosconi. To be honest, his report was less than flattering. Impassable swamps, monsters galloping about, and a complete absence of any valuable resources. Nothing more than a dirty hole ruled by another bandit lord, hardly worthy of your attention. That's what he wrote back then. I'm so happy he was wrong. Truth be told, even now traveling that domain is a less than pleasurable experience. Some roads have appeared, but their safety leaves much to be desired. Take the sad story of a poor Toman Henvaki from Gralton. He set off to those lands and hasn't been seen since. His brother Edrist went to find the poor fellow, and what happened? The Baron found the body in the blink of an eye, almost as though it was stored in his cellar. And the hunt the Baron put on, clearly imitating my tournament, it was beyond description. While guests were out hunting hydras and owl bears, the latter came from behind and ate at the banquet table, along with all the servants. Some celebration, right?
Diplomacy, intimidation, or bluff. I'm flattered by your borderline disturbing attention to my persona, but we don't. But why don't we include you in the discussion as well? For example, I heard an amusing story about some students from your academy. Iverati, my friend, it's uncomfortable how much attention you lavish upon me. How about your kingdom? How many bodies were found in the Patax harbour each year? Your words ooze poison. How is this how you show hospitality? If I've offended you in some way, just tell me and I'll offer my apologies. Lies, lies and slander, I demand you rescind your words. Might as well try one of these. I think the bluff is best. It's less to the point, more tactful. I'm flattered by your borderline disturbing attention to my persona, but why don't we include you in the discussion as well? For example, I heard an amusing story from some students from your academy.
Right. Yes. I did get a bit carried away, didn't I? All I really wanted to get at was that His Highness is a personage truly as extraordinary as his lands, and I'm happy to see him at this celebration. And now it's time to announce the winner of the tournament. This year, no one managed to win all 3 contests. Since the victories all belong to our neighbors here and Pitax, as the chief judge, I'll be rewarding the prize to Pitax for their grace and skill.
Awarding yourself a prize. Such a regal thing to do. I applaud you.
Oh? Someone's displeased with my judgment? But it's my right, after all. I must say, I was hoping that this year our debutante, my friend here, would show his worth. But I suppose it would be strange to expect him to display more talent during the contest than he does ruling his tiny country.
Tiny? Why are you so concerned with the size of my country, Iverati? Are we perhaps trying to compensate for your size elsewhere? Iverati grits his teeth as the rest of the guests laugh heartily.
And now, with the competition over and the prize awarded, let's get on with the main part of the celebration. The banquet! I can hear your stomachs growling from here. Let's get to the table, and later we'll see an unforgettable fireworks show.
Alright, we have no idea. The tournament is over. King Iverati wasn't very friendly, but overall everything was settled peacefully. Perhaps this invitation wasn't a dirty trick after all. No, I can't believe that. There must be some kind of catch, or it wouldn't be Iverati. I think we'll be hearing some news from Pitax in the near future. In the meantime, let's go.
I'm hungry. When we stop?
We'll stop once. Well, round about now, actually. Didn't need to click on that. Go.
Yeah, they know how to feast at the Rushlight tournament. When's the next one?
Too soon.
Really do need to be getting back to my own kingdom at some point. Don't want to enter that particular location just yet. There's someone on the road. Get ready. Our travels brought us to Little Town surroundings in Our travels brought us to the little town surroundings in pursuit of dastardly river pirates who have preyed on the innocent merchants and travellers. It would have been nice to march in, knock some skulls together and call it a day, but rumours suggest that we were heavily outnumbered. Even worse, the villains had set up camp in defensible positions in sight of their boats, protected by the river on one side, a thick forest on the other, and a sticky swamp on the third, and in a bunch of sentries watching for intruders, and we were in trouble. Thank goodness our fearless leader had a plan. I have a plan? 20, 22, 22... We threw caution to the wind and approached the camp now. We circled around to approach from the woods, seeking some game trail or other path that could lead us through the undergrowth. It's a 12 on that one. It's a 10 on the rest of the two. We began our approach by picking our way through the swamp. In retrospect, trying to navigate the wetlands while trying to keep quiet might not have been as easy as we had hoped. The sucking mud tore at our boots and tripped us several times. In short order, we were filthy, bruised, and feeling less than heroic. Before long, we emerged from the swamp, our gear dripping with stagnant water. From there, we could see there wasn't one camp. There were two. The second was several hundred feet away, judging by the campfires, which meant we could only vanquish the pirates in one camp before the other could respond. We made a rustling near the reeds, hoping to lure and subdue a few sentries. It was exactly the plan you read about in Dashing Tales, and our enemies fell right into our trap. We quickly dispatched the sentries before launching our attack on the remaining pirates. Get ready for battle. I do wish to a certain extent it would have allowed us a, I don't know, turn to be able to go, yep. We want to cast these spells on ourselves. Oh, somewhere along the line, me interest in caught the bubonic plague. Well, that's not fun. Well, they're not very strong, at least. Reduce person. Curious. Suppose it makes sense on the cleric. Tristan. Is there a cure disease? Remove fear, cause fear, find traps, remove paralysis. Remove disease is a 3rd level. Might have to switch out a couple of them to get rid of the bubonic plague, but saves are every day, so that's not a major concern. What is a slight concern is a constitution damage. But that's... Oh, we're fatigued again? Why are we fatigued? Or is that part of the plague? 1d4 con damage and the target is fatigued. Okay, so if we... Just gonna go through a greater restoration and be sure to be done with it. Why won't it allow me to cast greater restoration? I hope that hasn't spoilt the spell. Sing us a song, shoot the brawler.
Let us strike as one.
A calculated risk.
Yeah. And then they exploded. I was supposed to leave him by Tristan. Oh well, I'll sort out the bubonic plague in a bit.
Oh!
That's most obnoxious. Yay, I died straight away because I ran too far forward. I'll accept that one as my own. Might as well greater restoration myself. Myself being Tristan, that is. And move forward a little bit.
Serves you right.
Summoning more wolves. Need to consider getting rid of. Don't really need to kill that thing, but okay, it's dead. The cleric who spawned them things. How rude. You missed. Oh, we took out that one.
You deserved it.
Move forward a bit. Is that the priest? Cleric. It is. Isn't that inconvenient? More people have arrived. A voice cuts through the din, roaring in with such indignation that the fighting momentarily stops. What's going on here? Who dares attack my camp? The speaker is a suntanned woman wearing light blue travelling clothes with high boots. An embroidered heron adorns one of her sleeves. She draws a weapon and takes a menacing step forward. I don't know who you are and any patience I have to hear your excuses is short-lived as you are. If you have something to say, make it good. Behind her, you can see more combatants approaching. You have a few moments before they arrive. Recall what you can about this woman's heraldry. The blue outfit and the heron insignia indicates that she is an important member of the Riversong trade house of Patax, possibly a member of the controlling family. The Vascari leads the trade house, and it might be his sister, Renshala Vascari. As you look down at your enemies you've slain, it seems you haven't attacked pirate. You've killed influential merchants. Who are you? The woman's face wrinkles in disdain. I was prepared to kill thieves, but it looks like I'll have to kill idiots instead. If you don't know, explaining it won't be worth the breath. This is all a terrible mistake. The well-dressed woman glowers at you. Explain, quickly. We heard that a powerful band of pirates were camped here, and we were going to chase them off. A playwright convinced us to hunt pirates in order to win the adoration of the Patax's common folk. I was acting in good faith to chase off pirates. I would never attack a Riversong convoy. Someone provided me misinformation, likely because they stood to profit if we killed each other. We received these orders from King Ivaretti himself. Here, take a look. Wow, a lot. Here, take a look at what? We're just going to magic them up on the spot. See, I'm tempted to go for this one because it sounds the most plausible. I was acting in good faith to chase off pirates. I never would have attacked a Riversong convoy. Someone provided me misinformation. Likely because they stood to profit from it if we killed each other. At last a hint of wisdom. Yes, you're right. She thinks for a moment before continuing. Perhaps I was hasty to dismiss you all as anything but dim-witted brigands. My name is Renshala Viscari, of the Riversong Trade House, not a pirate. Who provided you this misinformation? The playwright, Ima Deschamps, told us about the camp. Actually, the magistrate Walsh Kellaway insisted there were pirates preying on travellers here. The playwright, Ima Deschamps, told us about the camp. Renshala makes a disgusted sound. That man writes overblown dramas of a living, and you trusted him? What kind of fool would you have to be to... She trails off and peers at you more intently. Wait, are you Chiron? I was warned that you might try something like this. She extracts a scroll from a tube and rolls it for you to see. It clearly warns the Viscari family that raiders sent by you would soon threaten her shipments. Judge Cleverway may be a bastard at times, but he sure knew you would attack my convoy. Give me a good reason I shouldn't throw your corpse to the eels. This is clearly a setup, but I've nothing more to add, if you believe me or not. Make your choice. It's a little too inconvenient for my tastes. I don't like the sound of your story, and frankly, neither do my men. She remarks, smirking as she notices your clumsy explanation brought her remaining forces enough time to arrive. I shall consider your death justice for those you've slain. I mean, by all means, gather around. You don't really seem the most hardy of folks. Right, I need you to jog back off and stand between those two people right there. How many people? Fights like this will be an absolute nightmare around a table. What's annoying slightly is the fact that it was enough time for Anne-Marie to drop out of rage, but not enough time for that the fatigue of that rage to fade. Alright, Anne-Marie, go slice at this guy. Still hasted. Surprise! We can still move around the battlefield. Right. Doop-doop-doo. What do we have in the way? See, this is the annoying thing about this. Choose. Oh no, that's Hellfire Ray. Topple. There we go. Yes, explode everybody as terrible things have occurred. Right, Lindsay, I would like you to displace the good Chiron there. And move forward. And Tristan, I would like you to heal the good Chiron there. Well, that's heal. There we go. I'm getting back from fighting fit. There we go. Very nicely done. Right, and move forward a bit. You're going to be fireballing the area in just a moment. Right. Have you been slowed? No, you've been a little more than counted. I don't really want to get too close to that, so go up and around.
This will hurt.
Last thing I need is him falling into the hungry pit. Once I get items other than belts of bluff, Anne-Marie picked up the belt from the merchant at the capital and turned fatigue into rage into hit point damage. I had noticed that. The thing is, at the time that I noticed that, one of my problems was trying to keep Anne-Marie on her feet some of the time. Because the amount of hit point damage would have been considerable enough to be like, maybe that's actually going to sting enough to cause a problem. Yeah, summon some more monsters. Risky thing to do, changing it down to one attack. But yes, one of the things I suppose I could do is consider switching it back to a I'll consider switching it over to hit point damage rather than fatigue, but more often than not,
I'm writing you out of our store.
you know, the fatigue isn't that bad. Alright. Can we get in range for this controlled fireball to catch most of these people? Got a good many of them. Alright, to go support the flank. I don't want to go forward through the tar. So that seems like a terrible thing to do. There's that guy. And then step over to this guy.
Consider me provoked.
Tristan, take out that merchant cleric. Nearly. Have I been slowed? I've not been slowed.
Let's try this way.
Was that saying only 2 attacks? Oh, because it's unequipped my weapons. Because that stupid bloody fight. I do wish something, you know, it showed that one of my kukri was still there, which is why I figured, you know, maybe it was allowing me to do single-handed attack or unarmed attacks in a special fights way / style, and may have been using a kukri in an unarmed fight, not entirely sure. Oh, come on, Amory.
Repent!
Oh yes, great stuff. Concealment, completely useless for me. Run back to Tristan, get some more healing. Surprise! You're having a terrible day. Are you serious? Everybody else managed to avoid the target. No, not Chiron. He stands right in the middle of it. And can't make a reflex saving throw, despite that being his main saving throw. Oh, are you kidding me? Reflex saving throw failed. Oh, shoot. I didn't want you to go that way. Right, okay. Screw it. No, I don't want dimension door mass, I just want dimension door. Dimension door single. Go over there. Hey, you finally made it out. And you're not in the tower either.
In due time.
Oh, she wasn't quite dead. Apparently. Note from Cleverway. A short letter of the Songhouse. Your trade house remains one of Pitax's prides, bringing wealth and traffic to our noble city. While your independence is admirable, the River Kingdoms are no longer a place where its free spirits and a fast blade are enough to ensure the safety of a prosperous family. Ensure the safety of so prosperous a family. Twice you have spurred His Highness King Ivaretti's offers of protection, and as his agent, I extend that offer once more, with a warning. The hordes of Chiron grow increasingly restless, and tales of that monarch's ruthless savagery are confirmed even more every day. As his gaze turns south to Pitax, we would do well to stand together. Set aside any quarrels you may have with the king, and accept his guiding hand in these troubled times. Ever the servant of Pitax and its people, Magistrate Walsh in Cleverway. Well, now I need to go confront somebody about all of this. Probably just leave, and it should. Give me the shopping list on my exit. Let's just have a look around for hidden things. There are so many people, huh? Not cold around here. It's clear skies at the moment, but it was actually snowing, believe it or not, earlier and the other day. Right, well, let's go to Patax and deal with whatever this is. The whole army of mean-looking guards waits at Patax's gates. They were led by a pompous buffoon named Walsh Chelaway, a Pataxian magistrate no less. "Leave now, your highness. King Etheretti's orders," he said. We looked at each other and... I told Walsh we needed to discuss a few things with him regarding the river pirates. The river pirates are Patax's concern, not yours. You would do better to mind your own kingdom, your highness. Walsh said, taking a step backwards to be closer to his soldiers. Realizing we wouldn't get anything else from him for now, we kept what remained of our dignity and turned away. So I'm just going to explore around your kingdom. Seeing as though you're no longer stopping me. I'm actually just kind of looking for an exit, but might as well do a little bit of exploring while I'm there. Alright, let's see what terrible things have been occurring in my absence.
I need to catch my breath.
Our scouts discovered a notable location in Shriek Hills, a predominant landmark. River Rhine Rise can be seen from afar. The bank of the rivers are quaint, picturesque hill. It might be a place worth visiting. Oak that strayed discovery. Our scouts discovered a notable location in the outskirts. A lonely oak tree in the heart of the pine grove has the look of a wandering stranger in a foreign land. The place bears hallmarks of the Fey magic. Might be worth visiting. The Rushlight tournament has begun. It is now over. The darkness retreats into the terrorist depths. The visions of darkness dispersing haunt the king's dreams. It seems that the final shroud of insanity has fallen, unlocking the passage into the heart of the depths. It's time to answer Zerel's call. Tristan has some news and wants to discuss it privately. Contagion Madness can only be dealt with by one of those two, and they're busy, although one of them's only busy for a couple of days. The kingdom is serene. We should be fine. It was snowing here when the stream started, though. It didn't settle long. The only stuff that's settled up here is on Monday morning, woke up and found tiny patches. You know, it's like, it's barely worth noting. It was just one of them where it's like I woke up and it's like, oh yeah, there was rumors of snow today, and looked out the window and it's like, oh yeah, there's tiny patches of snow. Celebrity. A legendary scholar from Absalon is traveling through the kingdoms, giving a series of lectures about the circulation of souls in the universe. The famous half-elf should be invited to the capital. Such a visit would greatly benefit the subjects of the kingdom. It's an opportunity, so you can go deal with that. Is this a... yeah, that's a problem. So... in a day, gets the priest to deal with that.
I'm hungry. When we stop?
We'll stop when we get to Diaberg, because I just remembered I have teleportation circles.
We should gather our strength.
Or when everybody's exhausted. But yeah, it's been snowing on and off today. Nothing major, you know, it's not settling. more just cold than anything else. Lochingdale, there we go. I could not remember the name of the capital then for a moment. Professor, I can't believe you lied to me this whole time. Don't try to deny it. I heard everything. How you covered for bullies. How it wasn't even Everetti who fired you. It was Altilia. Atalia. How could you? Lindsay, please calm down. I didn't deceive you. You never even asked about the circumstances of my dismissal, remember? It's a, sensitive subject. I may not have been a good student to be one of your favorites, and like Alandi, but I do remember the basics. Like the 7 types of lies. And I definitely remember your lecture on lies of omission. You wanted me to write a book about all the atrocities going on within the walls of the academy, and you left out the pretty big one. You never told me a student died because of you. What other sensitive subjects have you been avoiding? You wanted me to write a book about all the atrocities going on with the academy. Oh, okay, yeah. Lindsay, I beg you, please explain. Please let me explain. Eobald, is this true? Yes, Your Highness, I'm afraid it is. As I devoted all my attention to developing the talent of my students, I fear I neglected their moral development, and this led to tragic results. But with all due respect to Headmaster Gitteren, I don't believe in incoggrable villainy, especially not such at a young age. Shaylin teaches us not to renounce those who stumble, but to give them a chance to reform. I traveled to your lands in the hopes of a new beginning, for my students and for myself. How much of what you and Lindsay wrote about the academy is actually true? There is no direct lie. I admit that in some cases I may have concealed or misrepresented some details to protect the innocent. But believe me, it was with noble intentions. Ivaretti's atrocities are no secret to anyone, and the book may very well bring about the fall of a tyrant, but I cannot allow the academy to perish alongside Ivaretti. There are too many innocents, wonderful artists, poets and composers, who've been tainted by Ivaretti's crimes against their will. They stand to lose everything if we publish the truth in its entirety. So, to put it simply, the book is full of lies, isn't it? Your innocent colleagues all pandered to Ivaretti, and you want to shift all the blame onto him alone, so they all come out clean. What I want is to protect the little good that King Ivaretti brought into this world. The Academy is more than just wrongdoings and bullyings. It's made up of many brilliant artists who have potential to change the world for the better. Should we freely trample the flowers that just happen to grow out of the muck heap? Lindsay, what do you think? I don't know. Teacher told me so many times that the world isn't made of things, it's made of stories, and we ourselves are made of the stories we tell and believe. But shouldn't those stories also be true? You said that people are essentially animals who love stories. Did you really mean that people are just lying beasts? Well, what is the truth then? A precise statement of past events? We're not news hawks or historians, bound to precision for the sake of precision. A bard must take into consideration how her story will affect her audience. Truth and fiction are our materials. They are as valuable as rough a marble to a sculptor. The same story used to invoke anger, envy, or fear can be turned to inspire bravery, love, and hope. Both versions told in full truth. The events at the base of a story aren't what's important. What's important is the lesson your listeners take from it. Lindsay turns to you, baffled. I don't know what to do. I want to burn the manuscript, start over, and write the whole dirty truth about the academy. But maybe the teacher is right, and that would be a horrible mistake. Maybe saving the good the academy brings is more important than punishing everyone who's guilty. See, this is another one of them cases where I don't strictly believe the lawful good side of things. You know, this is one of the lawful good. Earbold's right. The cruel world lacks beauty. We have to preserve what little we have. Basically suggested, as long as you bring beauty to the world, you can break any law that you desire. Don't really agree with that. I think that should be more of a neutral good point of view. You know, especially when the chaotic good is, I think you're right, Lindsay. Earbold, what of the student who died because of your favourites? No one will ever see his creations, he won't be getting a second chance either. This is where law and chaos, especially on the side of good, tend to get a little bit, well, chaotic. You know, I would have placed that more. I would say that both of those are more lawful, neutral good. Because again, they're bringing up the point in that one that, you know, somebody died because of your favourites. That's favouring the more lawful side of things rather than the chaotic, in my humble opinion. The lawful neutral is kind of where I prefer my stance to go. Is like, I think you're right, Lindsay. So many beautiful words, but it all boils down to this: Earbold, you're trying to protect the guilty who from being punished, aren't you? I'm not entirely sure. Well, no, that's lawful because we're trying to root out the guilty parties. Neutral. I think you're right, Lindsay. Shannon teaches is to spare even villains as long as they're repentant. Nothing in her teaching speaks of retaining those their posts or keeping their careers. You know, and it's one of these times where it's like the whole choosing an alignment for the sake of choosing an alignment. You know, the whole lawful good, no matter what, be damned, is one of them times where it's like, because there's so many options and because what I'm trying to get across isn't actually what the game thinks is what I'm trying to get across. You know, I feel that those two potentially are the wrong way around. Because this is basically saying preserve beauty regardless of the law. the law of the matter is a student died at the hands of one of his favorites, and we should preserve that. The chaotic is either lawful good and lawful neutral should be switched, or chaotic good and lawful neutrals. Lawful good and chaotic good should be switched, in my humble opinion. So do I go with what the game thinks that I should choose, because it's a lawful good option, because I'm being lawful good, or do I go with my opinion of lawful good? I don't know, but I liked his idea of society being the stories we tell each other. The thing is, I don't disagree with the stories we tell each other being, I don't disagree with what he said, where it's all like, you can take a story and twist it, spin it two ways. You can point out the moral corruption of people when they do something that is illegal, or you can talk about the the bringing of hope and justice when doing something illegal. To a certain extent, the whole fact that I am trying to raise a lawful good kingdom, despite being a rogue knife master, is kind of a story that is a good one. It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what reputation you have, or the skills you have, you still have the chance of bringing out the best for everybody, rather than just going down the self-serving route, which is usually attributed to a rogue. But you could also tell that story as like the rogue used trickery, deceit, and all manner of tools, poisons, and blades at his disposal to bring about this kingdom, and that is why, no matter how well it presents itself, it is still very self-serving and not a good place, because it suggests that it doesn't matter the methods, the outcome is what is most important, which is true in a lot of cases, in my humble opinion. But there are some cases where there are mitigating factors. For example, society thrives and continues to prosper, but once a year you must sacrifice a child to a god. That is where this argument falls down. It's like, no, the methods there don't justify the outcome. You should never sacrifice children to a god, even for the sake of prosperity. But that is potentially the angle that you could spin on this story. The thing is, the spin on the story is depending on what you want to teach somebody. Now, in his case, he wants to spin the story to pin it on Idretti because it was Idretti's stylings that corrupted everybody involved. That I don't really agree with. It would be a much better story if the Academy remained uncorruptible. And that's a story he wants to tell. But the only way that you get to tell that story, in my humble opinion, is if you go back to making sure that it is the truth. You cut out the corruptible parts of the Academy. By stringing them up and hanging them, if that's what the law dictates, would be the punishment in the case. Yes, it means that some bright poets and the like might die because their morally corrupt actions brought about their punishment. But if they aren't punished, then the story is starting to be based on a fabrication of lies, where it's like, oh yes, the Academy was great and it brought about all of this good. Everything that went wrong at the Academy is all blamed on Iveretti. It doesn't mean... It basically completely refuses to acknowledge the fact that there were evil, corrupted people within the Academy. That should have been removed. I think I'm going to go for lawful neutral, because I can't honestly go with the lawful good. I just cannot agree with that statement. This cruel world lacks beauty. We have to preserve what levels we have. It's like preserving beauty for the sake of corruption. It's not beauty at all. I think you're right, Lindsay. So many beautiful words, but it all boils down to this. Eobald, are you trying to protect the guilty from being punished, aren't you? Eobald lowers his head. I suppose you're right. I was concerned with mercy and the great injustice that occurred as a result. I'm sorry, Lindsay. I taught your old teacher... You've taught your old teacher a lesson today. We'll rewrite the book. I'll tell you everything I know, and everything I'm guilty of. I don't want this old liar in my lands any longer. Lindsay, you're going to have to finish the new manuscript yourself. Lindsay, will this book distract you much from your main project? No, of course not. Your chronicle will take years of work. The book will be out at the Academy. Well, that'll be ready in a couple of months. If the truth of the Academy destroys it, then it really wasn't anything there to save. Let's go, teacher. We have work to do. Lindsay turns to Elodie. And you? Pack and leave. Don't say a single word. I have no interest in your excuses or apologies. I never want to see you again. Alondi shuts his mouth, swallowing his response before he started. With a single nod, he leaves without saying a word. I don't know, but kind of liked his idea of satire. Yeah. As a child, I read the story of a king sacrificed a number of people a year to be able to fly, showing him as evil. Then, in the end of the tale, tells me how many people are killed by cars allowing us to drive. That's a bit of a false equivalency. You know, the end of a tale tells of how many people are killed by cars allowing us to drive. One of the things I remember reading a report and a philosophical thing where it's like, now I know that these places aren't completely devoid of road traffic accidents in which people are killed, but at the same token, in certain cultures, the structure of the language is different. And that difference helps set or dispel certain mentalities. For example, in English, the grammar "I broke my arm" seems perfectly acceptable because at some point your arm was broken. So you can say, "I broke my arm." But when you actually boil it down to "I broke my arm," in other cultures, the words literally mean "I broke my arm." Therefore, whatever you were doing, you broke your arm. Or you explicitly went out of your way to break your arm. That's literally what the sentence is. "I broke my arm." So by twisting that into a different phrasing of it, "My arm got broken while rock climbing." Or, "My arm got broken by falling down the stairs." Then starts changing the way that you perceive what is being said. It's not a case that you were a nut job and broke your own arm. It's a case of you're telling the story in a sentence of how your arm got broken by going rock climbing or falling down the stairs. And it's those subtle differences in the way that you describe things can make a big difference as to how they're perceived. And, how many people are killed by cars? Cars don't kill people, on the whole. Cars can kill people if the driver gets into an accident. But one of the things that you actually need to start avoiding, if you really want to look at your English, is the word accident, especially when it comes to certain things like cars. One of the things tends to be that when a car accident occurs, it occurs because somebody is driving too fast. That's illegal. They should never have been driving that fast at all. It occurs because of a lack of attention. Well, maybe you shouldn't be distracted by your phone, the music on the radio, or something like that. Falling asleep at the wheel of a car. Maybe you should plan out your journey slightly better, that it isn't one long continuous journey. And also, that tends to be more on the private side. On the public, or I say public, in terms of, commercial driving, you're only allowed to drive for so many hours a day, and for such continuous points, they actually install machines in the car that monitor how continuously the vehicle is moved by the driver, and they have to take breaks, and those breaks are shown by the vehicle stopping in places, so that people don't get overly fatigued. But there's no such a requirement when it comes to private vehicles. I don't drive, but my neighbours do. If one of my neighbours decided to go out, get into their car and just start driving, they could start driving and continue driving, fill it up, continue driving until they passed out. Which then suggests that actually no, cars don't kill people. People's actions behind the wheel kills people. If you actually look at the root cause of the problem and address that, rather than just saying, somebody, 200 people died last year in a road traffic accident. I don't know the statistics, I was just making that up. But 200 people died in road traffic accidents. Oh, it was an accident. Can't help it. Stop addressing them as accidents. 50 people died last year because 50 people decided to drive drunk. 75 people decided to speed. losing control of the vehicle and killed 75 people. Another 25 people died because of faulty maintenance done on their vehicle. And the final 50 died in other circumstances, such as poor visibility, loss of grip on the road. And the moment you actually start breaking it down and discussing it like that, it's all like, people are still drunk driving. This has been, ever since I was a child, a known problem. Yet people still do it. Should we not actually consider, rather than calling it a drink driving accident, calling it what it is, and also making people punished harsher when they do these things, even if an accident doesn't occur? You know, you come out of the pub, you've had a few too many drinks, you get in your car, you go drive down the road, you get stopped by the police, they breathalyze you, you are too drunk to be driving a car. Because no other incident has occurred, you'll walk away with a minor penalty. If that occurred and your driver's license got taken off you entirely, until you reset your driving test, and the driving test, I don't know how much it costs, but it's like, it costs a fair amount, and potentially a fine on top of that of several £100s, all of a sudden people will be so like, is it actually worth drink driving? Because if my livelihood depends on a car, if I appreciate my independence enough, then they'll stop drink driving. And there we go, we've sorted out 50 parts of the problem. 50 people out of the 200 people killed last year, again, making up numbers. And then you can start addressing the others, you know, the faulty maintenance. You know, how many times, potentially, has a road traffic accident occurred yeah, language is important in shaping perception. I even saw something where people who spoke language with more named colours could tell some shades apart better. Yeah, I think that's a very true statement in terms of, you know, being able to describe a scene and potentially, you know, the training of looking at the differences between two shades of colours. One of the things that this discussion actually came up semi-recently with my father. We both watched the F1, and this year there are a lot of blue cars in F1. Now, each team only gets 2 cars. There's something like 11 cars that I identified as blue or potentially blue. My father identified, 12 cars I identified. My father identified, I think it was 8 cars. If you actually go away and look up the colours independently, there's only something like 6 cars. But it's those slight shadings difference where it's like, is that grey, or could you say that it's a very slight, there's a bluish tint to it? One of the things that actually, really knackers up perception of shades these days is actually monitors and TVs. Is this shade of blue here, is that the same shade of blue that you're seeing? Is that the same shade of blue that everybody else sees? And there's no way of knowing, strictly speaking, that, because it's all being represented digitally as the same shade. I don't know what number it is, but RGB, so it'll be, there's likely to be some red in there, there's some green in there, to give it a lighter colour, but an overpowering amount of blue in there, so that it gives it the blue shade. But is there, sort of like more green in there than there is red, which will give it a bluishy, greenish blue tinge? By knowing these things, it can actually, very much help hone in on these things. And to a certain degree, it is practice. But yeah, perception is a lot, and having different names for these things. Because if I say blue, there's many different conjurations of blue. That back wall back there is blue, but there's a wall to the side that is actually 2 tones of blue. And if you were to ask me to describe these shades of blue, I wouldn't even know where to begin. They're all just blue to me. But yeah, if a language did have more insistent namings of different colors and shades. But yeah, the whole perception on the at the end, it tells you how many people are killed by cars that allow us to drive. Cars don't kill people. People kill people. They might use a car to do it. That is a false equivalency to sort of like a king sacrificing a number of people every year to be able to fly, showing him as evil. Yes, he is evil, but at the same token, how many people are killed by cars? It's not really that they're strictly evil. Because one of the things is, going back to the whole faulty maintenance, it's like if a car has an accident because of faulty maintenance, how often do they actually go back and look at why the car was maintenance was faulty, and punish people along the route for doing so? I can't remember how many it is, but if a brand new design of car comes out of the factory and somebody has an accident, there's not really as much investigation until a lot of people start having an accident in that car, and then it's like, maybe there's a problem with the car. And if there is a problem with the car, then the whole range, regardless of whether that person got into an accident or not, is then recalled. But there's a trigger point for that. It doesn't just happen because the first car that rolls off the assembly line gets into an accident. They're not all recalled. Likely, more often than not, because there isn't actually an issue with the car, it's an issue with the driver. There are ways of being able to drive and not getting into an accident and killing somebody. There's no way that you can fly without sacrificing people. Potentially. And we're talking about individuals flying and not using mechanical apparatus, because, technically you can fly. You just use a plane. Tristan, anyway, back to what's going on screen, because anybody who's not listening to the audio of this is wondering what is going on right now. Tristan remains silent for a long time. He finally opens his mouth. His voice is hoarse and tired. I won't take much of your time, Chiron. I've been meaning to ask you about something. This might seem stupid or arrogant or just insolent. Tristan stumbles and catches his breath. I want to talk to you. I think you know what it's about. It's what I've done and what I haven't done. The priest lowers his head and grows quiet. But let us speak in private, far from curious ears. I will be at the viewing point in the garden palace. The palace garden. Please come as soon as you can. Ever since I got into this new throne room, everybody's been like, let's go out to the garden, check there. A power stone, Blah blah blah. Believe won't be disappointed. Don't really want to read that out. You've all heard it many times previously. I want to go find out what's up with Tristan.
As it should be.
Come on, let's get outside. Main square. Talk to Tristan at the viewing point. One of the things that I find slightly interesting is that, like, now that I've got a new castle and, you know, throne room, there's now steps out here. But the throne room on the inside isn't any different to the last one. So they either raised this entire building up and built up this, or they didn't move it and then cut away at the land and flattened all of this. It's a hell of a lot of work either way. Why do we now have stairs? And where's Tristan? And why am I not... Oh, I've not got myself selected. Harem, guard... A book... Oh, we have a library. This section is devoted to the rulers of the stolen lands that existed in the past. Among them are the following esteemed monarchs: Matt K, Pathfinder in exile from eternity, for eternity; Max Grant, Max Pierce, Michael D. McGrath, Michael L. Zinger, Michael Hoagland, aka Horsig, Michael O'Connor, Miguel F. Santiago, Miliran, Mist, Miles Cocker, Nathan Clark, Nathan Kyle Leonard, Nathan P. Nessith, and Neil Frick. I'm assuming not everybody who backed the Kickstarter is in here. I'll be able to confirm that as soon as I've actually finished and find the section that I might be in. But I have a lot of difficulty figuring out which section that might be. This would be slightly better if it was... See, I can't figure out which section of the library that I've been in. See, Dave Marcus, Drekken.
All according to plan.
So they sound like the D's. They the J's, the L's, the M's. But then it's jumped straight to R's, which I don't think is quite right. Yeah, they're the backers at a guess. It's just I backed the game, so I want to find out if my name's in the game. Just now means scanning all of these to try and find where I might be. Come on. The thing is, I'm not entirely sure, without going away and looking at it, and finding out whether you had to be of a certain backer's level. So it seems that, you know, certain people got their names. Right. Kings and Queens of the past. Warren Blake. King Warren inspired numerous artists to paint portraits of His Highness. Thanks to these portraits, his special royal moustache style became extremely popular across Galarian. That doesn't look like a person, though. I'm guessing that some people were paid more to be immortalized down here. But I don't know if everybody got their name in the place.
Follow my lead.
Everything's in order. Yes, I don't know what the order is, though. There's something odd there. I'm guessing that these smaller books, people paid more and was able to add in a little bit of a tidbit that they wanted to add in. I don't see my name immediately. I also can't remember what name I gave over for the Kickstarter. That's also a slight bit of a flaw. In looking for it. I have many aliases online, including Chiron Rustmore, which isn't actually my real name. But without some Googling, I don't think I'm going to find myself in that library anytime soon. Where's Tristan? Ah, here we go. You've come. Tristan tilts his head to the side and remains silent. You notice he's holding something in his hands. It's so strange. I don't know if I should be glad or frightened. Anyway, thank you for finding some time for me. Tristan turns his head. If it weren't for his blind eyes, you would imagine he's looking into the distance. Since you freed me from Nidrissa's power, I've had time to think about what happened to me and what Nidrissa did to me. About what she truly did. I found myself here, without wings, in a mortal body. I was terrified, and I believed everything she told me, for I believed it was she who'd stolen my freedom. At last I discovered that Narissa had lied to me, and ever since I've sought a way to regain Serenray's gifts. And do you know what I've realized? No one is capable of taking a diva's gifts granted by his creator. Tristan's voice is barely audible. No one except the Dawnflower herself. So you were made mortal by Serenray herself. Tristan nods. I've found no other explanation for what happened to me. Narissa's power is great, but not so great as to turn angels into mortals. I wanted to know if the way back to Serenray is open for me. I spent endless hours in prayer asking for but one thing, a sign, a vision, a portent, a single word, and all I got in return was silence. Tristan smiles crookedly, hiding a grieving grimace. I wanted so badly to do something extraordinary. And it appears that I succeeded. I fell so low that even my most merciful lady couldn't forgive me and my sins. The goddess still grants you spells, but you were deceived and frightened as well. I could forgive you, and in case you haven't noticed, I'm no god of mercy. Serenray herself couldn't have simply abandoned you. Tristan smiles warmly. You make me dare to hope that all is not lost. I'm afraid to believe it, but thank you for your kindness. Tristan straightens himself. Anyway, I didn't ask you to come here to listen to me whining. I do not wish that my mortal deeds will end at deception and betrayal. It does cost me so much. Tristan lowers his hands. You see a crumpled leaflet, an invitation, one of the invitations for the Kingdom of the Clans. I wish to put an end to at least one of the evil that Nerissa spawned, and I'm asking for your help in this. Where do we start? A faint smile appears on Tristan's face. I knew I could trust you and ask for your help. Thank you. I heard that the cultists of the kingdom have been sighted once again, but now they no longer shout their slogans in broad daylight. No, they crawl from their lairs under the cover of darkness to abduct people for sacrifice. At least that's what's being said. We should return to their temple without walls, where they once held their rituals. Of course, the first faithful were not so foolish as to return to the scene of his crimes, but perhaps another one of the clans has visited this meeting place, held rituals, remembered the past, God knows what else. If we're lucky, we might find something there. Well, we have nothing better to do. We set off to do just that. I should rest. How far am I from level up? That's a curious thing. Oof. Just short of 100,000. Does Dunn want a barony? Oh yeah, there's likely to be the note about Tristan. tomorrow that will be done, so need to keep an eye on that. But first, I need to sleep, because I'm injured and at death's door. The Druids were unable to come to an understanding with your priests due to religious differences. The improvements made in the Beggar's Quarter were too minor to really change anything. Strengthen the storyteller skills as Magistrate. Contagious Madness. Harem. Deal with that. The Warden and Treasurer in all of March's regions by +3. That's the main thing that I'm looking at. Economy and stability will be up by 10. Increases income by that. The main problem is the 90 days to resolve that I don't like. Let's pull the Treasurer, High Priest, the General, the Minister, the Curators, the Magistrates, the Wardens, the Treasurers, the High Priests, the Generals. So many people who need sorting out. Did see a bit of an article on basically how to play this game the most efficient way. You know, on one of those, so like, you know, always be carrying rations, and whenever you're carrying, you know, whenever you stop to rest, make sure that you hunt, but you don't hunt, you know, you're carrying enough rations to justify. So one of the parts about that is making sure that whichever class you're playing and the classes that join you, you have enough carry weight to carry around enough rations so that you don't have to spend a lot of time camping. Hello? Great goddess, receive your servant. He may not have been cleansed in life, but he served you loyally and faithfully unto his dying breath. This is folly. The goddess has abandoned us. We're just wasting our time. Haven't you read the letter? The faithful writes that the kingdom still lives. That he will rekindle the grace of the goddess and save us. Where? In Dunswood? What about us? What about these lands? Yes, terrible people. I am here. And I will murder you.
Do not falter.
Any last wishes?
You forced my hand. This should do it.
Onward.
Not to be that guy, but do you know about not to be that guy, but I thought I'd let you know about the grammar in your I like these panels thing section that the suggestions in the other I'll just yeah, my grammar is not the greatest, and I don't mind people being that guy, because it's one of them where it's like I have a terrible habit of writing things. I forgot to pick that up earlier. Is that any good? Yeah, that's pretty good. Or that's new, not sure. I shall try to remember to go through those. 1 second. A bunch of index cards here for stuff that I need to be doing. Do. But yeah. I like these panels. Your suggestions. And other things has they all just because I can see, yeah, you're right, that's just not very good English. Can't even remember what I wrote in those sections, but I'll take a look at them later and at least try to improve the English somewhat. No promises that I will won't put more mistakes in there, but you know, it's just the way that I am. It's like my English skills are not the greatest. I'm okay as long as I'm very slow, methodical, and double check everything. I fall into the usual trap that a fair few people fall into that I know of. Is like you'll write something out and then read what you thought you wrote. Right, so this is quite a discovery. Cultists had a letter from the first faithful who settled in Dunswood and demands human sacrifice in the name of his goddess. They set up a new shrine amongst the Cyclops ruins, known as the City of Hollow Eyes, and it is time we finally sent this kingdom of his to the same place that the ancient one-eyed giants went, the past. So I need to go to the City of Hollow Eyes, which is a bit of a trek, but for Tristan, we'll do it. Stop. Just remembered. Where's Farnhold's out that way. Might be quicker if we actually just bounce from here to Varnhold. Like so.
I need to catch my breath.
We've spotted enemies. Try to avoid. We sneaked past. Oh, we failed to sneak past. Just as people are starting to get tired. And straight into battle with us. A very small cultist. Stunned apparently. I'm exactly the same. I struggled learning to spell, but read an awful lot. A teacher suggested that I was reading sentences as much as word from a young age. I remember I read a fair amount. I don't read as much as I could, but at the same token, I do read occasionally. It's more when the mood takes me.
A calculated risk.
I can go through a fair number of books in a short period of time. Oh, that's why they were stuck. They were exploding. And I've just been eaten, and that hurt, and they're shooting arrows at me. Great stuff. Can I cast? No, I can't cast displacement on myself. Don't be foolish. Sing a song, move forward. Tristan. Move to there. Heal. There we go, I'm looking slightly better already. One of the things that annoyed me about teachers was I remember reading this book, Foundation, by Isaac Asimov. Pretty good read. It's a little bit dated these days, but at the same token, you know, it's not so badly dated that it's a bad read. It's just, you know, some of the concepts he explores in there. It's like, yay, dead again, because nobody attacks a fucking person with a shield until I'm dead. Yeah, some of the concept he explores in that, it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. But at the same token, it's like, it's got a lot of names in there, and I am terrible at reading odd names. Because one of the problems with names is it's like they're not common. You won't find a lot of names in the dictionary where you can look at a pronunciation guide at least and try to make sense of that. So you're kind of just left with
This is where I step in.
trying to guess at how to pronounce names. And one of the things is when I'm reading to myself, I don't bother to learn people's names. I learn what their name looks like. And then going forward as I'm reading it, I will tend to just assume that if it says Bob, and there's another Bob in the book, because that's what it looks like, then it's talking about the same person. And I just remember it was, I was reading this book and one of the names just completely stumbled me because I couldn't pronounce this name. And the teacher was like, oh, shouldn't you be, I think this book is too difficult for you. And it's like, there's nothing difficult about the book in itself. It's just when they give you a name that's nigh on unpronounceable, don't have a pop at the kid who's unable to pronounce it. To be fair, it wasn't until some years later that I actually reread the book, and I still couldn't pronounce the names, but I got a lot more out of the book the second reading. Some 10, maybe even 20 years later. But it's just one of them where I find I can kind of understand why they do it in literature, trying to give people unique names for the sake of differentiating one piece of literature over another. Was he the guy who came up with something like the 3 Laws of Robotics? I do the same with names. I read a lot of fantasy books where I don't even try to pronounce some of the weird names in my head. Isaac Asimov came up with the 3 Laws of Robotics, I believe. I know that he explores the 3 laws in the book I Robot. No, it was a movie I Robot. The book was, I think it was Do Androids Dream of Electronic Sheep, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, the Foundation series is again sci-fi, but it's more in the realms of interplanetary. Without going into too much detail about it all, it's like an empire has risen that spreads across the galaxy. The problem with this empire is that it has grown too big to be effectively managed. As such, there is an individual who can see... I just clicked on loot all. I really didn't want to do that. Because there are so many of these that I really don't care for. Wait, I got stripped of everything in that combat. Why, oh why, oh why, oh why did it do this? No wonder I've been struggling. I'm getting murdered. Do I own braces? I don't think I own braces. I've got that thing. Never used it. Fatigued. Okay, that's fine. Right. Good job I accidentally looted everything, or else I never would have noticed that. These bows can go away. These weapons. These shields. There we go. Got the weight down to a semi-respectable thing, and now I'm wearing all my armor again. But yeah, so an empire has risen, and there's an individual who has seen the downfall of the Empire, and so gets himself into a bit of trouble, but exiled to the edge of known space, where he sets up the Foundation, and the Foundation is exploring, or the book explores, the concept of rebuilding civilization after civilization has fallen in a galactic environment. Like I say, an interesting read, but at the same token, it's very much one of, why do I even bother try sneaking? Some of the names, you know, again, fantasy names are
We make an epic pose.
tremendously
Inspiration.
awkward for reading at times, because it's all like, ah, yes, you know, their name has 6 L's in there, and it's all like, I don't know how to pronounce that. So you just kind of don't bother, and
Calm down. Not dead yet.
yay, of course they come after me, because I'm the easy target. Come on. Give us a heal. Walk away. Stand there. Yeah, it's only really because I'm playing this on stream and reading out all of the text am I actually trying to read out some of these weird and wonderful names. But even then, you know, it's like there's some words where it's like, I've never heard this word pronounced. So I have to hope that somebody's in chat who can pronounce it, and basically it's pronounced like this, and it's like, okay. And then he exploded. Lindsay, can you take care of that guy over there? Excuse me. Ah yes, the owlbear goes after Lindsay. Of course it does. But yeah, I appreciate, you know, so like, there are some, you know, the names of dragons, for example. I don't know about dragons too much in terms of Pathfinder, but I know that dragons in D&D tend to be very weirdly named. And I just pretty much don't even bother trying with those a lot of the time to pronounce them. But at the same token, it's I appreciate why they're named weirdly, because it's like it's a theme, a style that they've chosen to go with, because, you know, dragons, they've got an alien intelligence behind them, therefore their concept of names wants to be equally strange and bizarre, which is fair enough. But at the same token, I wish they would occasionally just put, you know, sort of like a common name in there. You know, don't know if you've played World of Warcraft, but in that they've got dragons with weird and wonderful names. Pretty much the same as D&D. But at the same token, those dragons that are familiar and deal a lot with humans will tend to have slightly easier to pronounce names. Like Chromie, who is a dragon of time. And Deathwing. Although his name changed because his nature changed. But by the same token, you know, it kind of makes sense.
This is for you!
Not doing it wrong. The spell is flawed.
Go hug Tristan for a moment.
Do not falter.
You deserved it.
This will hurt.
Run up and stab the archer. Ta-da! Time for us to live. Yoink, 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 yoink. Unidentified, unidentified,
Should gather our
unidentified.
strength.
Leave. Right. Need to rest before we go in there.
Lindsay, what are you writing in there again? You know, something about someone. I'll let you read it once I'm finished. It's hilarious.
And into the city of Hollow Eyes. One of the things that I've always been sort of like surprised that wasn't more widely used. Don't know if you've played Dragon Age, but one of the things about the combat AI in that one was you can actually give the AI orders in terms of sort of like, when you see an enemy, do this. Try to keep at this range. If an enemy comes into this range, then do this. And, you know, if an ally is injured to this point,
And then our leader charged forwards. Hey, wait for me!
you know, cast this healing spell. If you are injured and you're not a healer, cast this spell, use this ability, etc. It's surprised. I don't know. It was one of the things where it was a little bit tricky at times to manipulate to make sure that everything was in the correct order and people behaved how you needed them to behave. But at the same token, it's one of them where I felt it had certain advantages to it because you didn't have to rely on the AI that somebody else had programmed up. Which is one of them things that I found in a lot of games like this. You know, the AI, for example, for the bad guys, isn't particularly smart. So I'd be kind of worried trying to leave the AI to deal with my characters if I wanted to play this in real time. Oh yes, concealment because of range. Oh no. Range, terrible weather, that's why we've got concealment. I didn't just want you to move there, I wanted you to murder that person.
Let yourself open.
See? You know, the fact that bandits have melee weapons, but will never switch to the melee weapon even when stood next to somebody who has a melee weapon, which will generally automatically mean an attack of opportunity, which in some cases is how people have died. Because, you know, there's 3 archers, you run the melee character straight into the middle of them,
I'll fight if I have to.
and then leave them there for attacking each one of them individually, but all of the bandits will eventually shoot somebody else. When in theory, they could actually just straight up switch weapons and not take the attacks of opportunity.
Onwards!
This should do it.
This is where I step in.
This terrible weather is terrible.
You forced my hand.
Surprise! Oh, hello.
That is not far.
I'm trying harder with names, especially place names, as I found examples of fantasy authors who have created their own book of languages, dropping hints with etymology. I don't know what etymology is. It's a bit curious. Right, so if I was a bunch of cultists hiding around in the woods on a very, very stormy night, where would I be? Among the Cyclops ruins. So let's assume that they're across a river. Somewhere. Oh. Stop leading the way. You're very vulnerable right now, and I don't really want
As
to
it should
reload.
be.
The route of where the word came from. Ah, okay. I try a little bit, but I'm not very good per se with the whole structure and stylings of some of these. You know, unless it's got a root language in English. I'm not saying that it should always just have to be English. I'm not that arrogant to say that, oh no, every fantasy name should be based off English. It's just if I'm not familiar with that kind of thing, you know. It's all like, oh yes, this all the names of this civilization are, you know, it's all like from the Romantic languages. So you know, you're looking at French for your pronunciation guide as to how to pronounce these things. It's like, I can barely read the words that we've adopted into the English language, which were French. Never mind trying to understand, you know, just French words on their own. It's just not something that I'm familiar with doing. So that kind of advice will be of little to no use to me. My main thing to a certain extent is, you know, attempting to make sense of words as far as I can make out. And hoping after a fashion that, you know, it turns out to be something pronounceable, like Octavia. I don't think I could read that one just off the top of my head, but it's all like, okay, Octavia. And, you know, over time and practice of this, and having played it for some, what feels like 300 hours now, I don't think we're quite up to 300. You know, because she's the main part of the group, it's like I just instinctively now say Octavia's name.
Stop me.
But I think, you know, to a certain extent,
This will hurt.
that's what people do in general anyway. Brandon Sanderson has a character called Beardo Mishram, of the original God of the Universe, was Andolism. So we can guess at what his is being laid. Ban Ado Misram is Andalisium. Lysium? Andonalsium. Ba'ado Mithram. See, I don't see any link, as it were, between those two words, names. To destroy the repulsive cult together with the inn, who must be hiding somewhere within the ruins. Great. They're somewhere around here. Are we going to assume over here? Well, everybody's still got haste on them. Maybe over here? Yes, over here. I'm so scared. Goddess, receive the most innocent of your children. Rupert, the first faithful. The first faithful looks at you from under a hood drawn over his eyes. Despite his face being cast in shadow, you see deep wrinkles near the priest's mouth and dark circles under his eyes. Rufgert, the first faithful, you again. The voice of the faithful is hoarse, and he coughs several times. Damn it, I lost my voice because of endless prayers to my stern goddess. Whatever you have in mind, your cursed highness, you won't stop us. I shall return these people to grace. The Addo part seems to derive the Addo Andal Lysium, inferring some sort of connection. Fair enough. You're quite possibly right. Which book is this in, by out of interest? I read some Brandon Sanderson, but not a lot of him. But yeah, there is indications and hints like that that writers will the Stormlight Archive. Okay. That they'll layer through books, and to a certain extent, you know, it doesn't. It's one of those things. I am not very good at word games at all. You know, and because I tend not to read names, not because I don't want to try, but I just struggle to, you know, struggling to read a name will actually sap me so much of the enjoyment of reading the book, and then trying to remember all of these names and trying to infer the relations between all of these names is tiring work, in my humble opinion, that doesn't bring me much enjoyment. So I'll tend to read a book for what it is, and, you know, like you say, the Addo part is derived from the Andalsium, inferring some sort of connection. That might be true, and if you're the better reader than I, you might be able to infer that earlier in the book, so that when it becomes to the reveal part of the book, if there is one, you know, you get the satisfaction of, like, aha, I was right. Whereas, you know, for myself, it's more the dawning realization as it's being spelt out for me, where it's like, oh, that's why. You know, it's just I'm not a very thoughtful reader, if that makes sense. Please, my king, I have to die. I'm in praise of the kingdom. I am the last hope. Poor lost souls, you've been fooled, deceived. Stay your hand, Rufgar, while you still can. You hear the half-elf grind his teeth in anger. As much as one hair falls from this girl's head, just one hair. Stop, Rufgert. Don't do something you can't undo. The priest bites his lips. You are wrong, my king. I know how to fix everything. I can return the grace of the goddess. I know what I'm doing. The knife in Rufgert's hand starts to shake. My congregation is depending on me. I failed once to beg for salvation from Estriel. Now I must beg it from the goddess. Enough, Rufgert. It's only your pride and despair talking. The goddess will not return. She used the kingdom, then abandoned it to the mercy of fate, the same way she used and abandoned me. Put down the blade. Stop this madness. Rufgert shifts his gaze from you to Tristan and back. So, You are so happy in your ignorance. Have you any idea what it feels like to lose grace of a deity you've served all your life? The priest closes his eyes and groans softly. I'm so tired. One final sacrifice. No, faithful. Faithful? We're doomed. The first faithful is dead. Run! This is not how I had hoped to finish the story of the kingdom, but it's the will of the gods and those who worship them. Tristan's face seems to emit a soft radiance, his entire figure enveloped in a vibrant golden haze. He moves his lips, as if speaking with someone. Lindsay opens her mouth with astonishment, fumbles in her bag for her loyal journal, but she can't take her eyes off the priest shimmering with light. Is this what I think it is? Then, damn, where's my notebook? Tristan? Tristan opens his eyes wide, and there is molten gold under the eyelids, emitting a warm light. Tristan's voice roars, as if a whole host of divine creatures speaks through him. Chiron, I am here, and with me, the light of my goddess. What's going on? The most merciful believes that I have drained the cup of retribution to the dregs. In turning away from her will, I set in motion events that hurt the lives of many mortals. In her wrath, she took away what once she had granted, until I cleansed myself of pride and cowardice. She decided to return to me. She agreed to spare my mortal chains, that I may spread my wings once more. Tristan laughs happily, and the unseen choir turns his laughter into a symphony. O Lady of mine, my healing light, never shall I stumble again and leave you. Valerie sighs or whispers ever so softly. Look at him. I cannot stand fanatics, but this is so sincere. But the diva sighs, stunned, and remembers something. But Nerissa, and the stolen lands, and you. It's up to you, Tristan. Up to you and your goddess. Tristan freezes, and the golden veil that embraces him begins to vibrate. The diva's lips are moving, and then they cease, as if the inaudible conversation has come to an end. My goddess sees a darkness upon the stolen lands. Such evil must not cast shadow on Golarion. It must be turned to nothingness, by mercy or deliverance. I am Serenray's warrior, and will do my duty. And then I will be returned to her light. You watch the divine glow fade and disappear. Tristan slumps to the ground, sighs, and opens his blind eyes. She's gone. He lowers his head and then suddenly shivers, as if chilled to the bone. It's so cold without her glow. Tristan stands tall and turns to you. There's an infinite tranquility on his face. But her light is with me again. Here. He touches his chest and smiles. Not at you, but at which only his blind eyes can see. I'm glad you endured this ordeal and found forgiveness, and I am pleased that I could help you. Tristan lowers his head. I was just hoping to repair something, to make amends, and for this I have received the grace of my goddess. And it is all because you didn't turn me away in my darkest hour. I don't know if I can ever repay you for this. If you don't mind, let's go home. We'll have plenty of time to discuss what has happened. What did Tristan say? Serenray? What a beautiful name.
I believe I found something.
And the blind man found a rock which had an amulet of armor 2 in there. Hey Shathan, how goes it? Mainly all junk. Just out of energy because basically no food. Then shouldn't you get something to eat? You know, I appreciate you turning up, but at the same token, if you need to go get some food, I'd highly recommend going getting food. Nope, it's on purpose. I've gotten my orders from my surgeon that I need to lose 12 kilograms in 12 months. In 2 months, sorry. Did they not have you also speak with a dietitian? I know I'm English and I should know kilograms, but I don't really know kilograms. 1 second. Stone and a half. Just about. No, nearly 2 stone. 2 stone in 2 months. I mean, gotta say I'm not exactly the best person to be taking advice on losing weight from. All I can really say is I'm also trying to lose weight. But starving yourself for last I checked is usually not the best course of action. Yeah, especially if that starving is to the point of detriment. But at the same token, it's all, I don't know how you go about losing 2 stone in 2 months. And how extreme the diet has to be. But at the same token, if you've got a surgeon, I'd also basically be asking them to provide you with a nutritionist, or at least a nutritionist's advice as to how to go about that in a healthy manner. Yeah, I don't have a nutrition. A nutritionist. I'm up for a gastric bypass op, so I've gotten orders to live on a low-calorie diet for short. So it's meant to be extreme, as I have to live for short. So it's meant to be this extreme. I shall live 2,000 calories a day. Fair enough. I don't know, you know, one of the things that I find about diet and intake more than anything else, and this isn't against, you know, anybody who does eat excessively, because one of the things is that, like, I eat excessively at times. It's not like hunger is something that is purely mental at times. I appreciate, you know, if you've got a if you've had a substantial appetite for quite a while, suddenly pulling back on that appetite, you know, it does feel like a gnawing at the stomach, and, you know, ultimately it feels terrible, you know, trying to cut back on that much, especially that quickly. You know, you do sometimes have to step back and think, you know, is this yeah. Like I say, I'm currently trying to lose weight. And one of the things for myself is I'm not, not a health professional, but I imagine shocking the body into starvation mode will make it retain all the energy it does not receive by storing fat. Yeah, it can have that effect, or it actually tends to have more the other end of the effect. So, you know, by shocking the body with starvation, it will then start to process. Again, I'm not a medical professional, and if you do, let's switch to this for a moment. I am not a medical professional. This is what I've read by reading articles online and discussing with people over time. But one of the things is if you shock the system by cutting out a lot of food, is the body will slow down its processing of food and make sure that it extracts everything it can out of the food that you're passing through your system. So if you're not eating excess, and we're talking about a very fine line of excess here, then your body, will automatically start storing that and trying to convert it into fat so that it can retain that energy for later. Whereas people who have lived on, I wouldn't say excess, but a little bit of excess for quite a while, their metabolism hasn't quite slowed down to the point where it extracts everything out, because it realizes that everything is plentiful. So suddenly crunching it down, and then anything in excess, the body goes, oh, we're in a period of famine here. Let's make sure that we get all the energy we can out of everything. So basically, the diet is based on LCD groups, on LCD soups, and then 1/2 meals a day that are low calorie, high fiber, I believe HF is. I mean, ultimately, it does sound like you're a low carb, high fat. So basically, his diet exists on low calorie diet, soups, a meal, then 1.5 meals a day are low carb, high fat based. By the sounds of it, I think your next 2 months are just going to suck. And you've already spoken to either dietitians or done your own independent research into the best way of how to lose 2 stone in 2 months. It's not something that, you've had orders from your surgeon, and that's something that you need to get in place, which is fair enough. For anybody who's just generally listening and is after losing weight, possibly not the best method of losing weight in a controlled fashion. Shaitan has, he's up for a gastric bypass. I'm not quite sure entirely everything that entails, but I do know that it is a medical procedure for losing weight. So, his diet has been tailored and to suit his circumstances. If you are after losing weight, speak to a nutritionist, speak to your doctor, speak to people who know what they're doing, and whatever you do, do not just first go online and blindly read the first thing that you come across that says lose weight quickly and think that everything is potentially going to work for you. I've known a fair few people struggle to lose weight. I'm currently trying to lose weight, and the main thing that I've done is basically change out the snacks that I'm eating for healthier alternatives, which is fruit, and also started exercising. Not proper exercising per se. It's not like going to a gym or getting an exercise bike. It's actually just getting out of this chair for an hour a day and going for a walk. At the moment, my weight's not going up. It's not going down either. Again, Shaitan's just confirmed it's all like it's. This is a super extreme diet, but it is done in conjunction with medical expertise. So yeah, if anybody's paying attention, that is something that you want to not really do unless a medical doctor has said that this is the way to do it. And even then, if it still sounds a little bit extreme, don't be afraid of getting a second opinion from somewhere. In my humble opinion. Well, anyway, good luck with that. I know that I'd find it difficult, especially. I'd probably find it slightly easier if there was a medical professional behind it saying that you need to do this. No, I'm good. I've got a rough idea of what it is. It's basically bypassing certain parts of the digestive tract to try to speed up the process of food passing through the system so that you don't have as much chance to absorb all of the nutrients from it, thus allowing you to eat. Some of the nutrients are absorbed, but because you're getting in less, then you don't put on as much weight and you don't retain as much weight because, one of the things about gaining and losing weight in general is everybody roughly needs about 2,000 calories a day to survive. Anything that you eat in excess of that, the body has a chance of turning into fat. If you're overweight, what you want to do is be eating less or using more energy up. In the last year or so, because of the apocalypse, a lot of people haven't been getting out and about as much, but have continued eating the diet that they've always eaten, therefore their weight has gone up. Because people have been locked indoors, people have also started snacking more. I'm guilty of that one. I've been snacking on bagels, crumpets, just anything that takes my fancy in a week. When I go shopping, it's all, oh yeah, I'll get some cream cakes. You know, back before the apocalypse, I was buying the cream cakes, just infrequently, but still I was, going out to work every day. I was walking around on my dinner hours in work because I didn't want to be stuck in the office for the entire day. So my weight was stable. Now that, been not moving around so much and starting to snack a little more, my weight has started to go up. I've cut out the snacks and gone for healthier alternatives, and way less amount after the healing is done. You will eat about 1.5 US cups or 3 pounds of cooked food per meal, and you should eat about 5 to 6 times a day. I'm assuming that is in relation to the gastric bypass. But yeah, Shiflin just mentioned that the bypass is, you just bypass the stomach entirely. Which again goes into putting weight into, so it doesn't have as much time to break down, so when it passes through the intestines, it's still going to break down somewhat during its process through the intestines, but I'm guessing it doesn't have the time to break down in its entirety as it's passing through the intestines. Therefore, you're absorbing less of a nutrient. I should possibly look into some resources if this conversation ever comes up again. Because one of the things that... Yeah, pretty much on the surface level. One of the things that I know a lot of people who have struggled with weight issues and have tried losing weight unsuccessfully because of bad diet advice, bad self-discipline, or poor self-discipline, I should say, and the lack of noticeable gains over a short period of time. One of my friends would be so like, I'm going on a diet, and then by the end of the week it's like, nothing has improved, and it's like, because you've only been giving it a week or so. I mean, I've cut down on snacks, I've changed to healthier alternatives, fruits, nuts, not snacking quite as much, and, generally trying to eat less, while at the same time, I'm still maintaining eating what I want to eat. Every every Saturday night I still get 2 12-inch pizzas to myself. Because that's the cheapest way that I can get pizza. Because I can't order a single pizza by going up to the shop. Because they're delivery only now, so I have to order 2, so they'll actually deliver the things, and I live alone. So... But at the same token, I was eating that kind of stuff before the apocalypse. It's just, I was out and about before the apocalypse. These days, it's like, okay, I'll order 2 pizzas, and I will, make sure that it is kept in conditions where it will last for 2 to 3 days. And split out the pizza over 2 to 3 days, rather than eating it all in an evening and the morning after. As I used to be able to do. Because exercise. But yeah. It's not fun losing weight in general. To generalize the 2 ways of losing weight, you either consume less calories or you use, or as Karen said, you eat more calories and exercise. Yeah, I mean, it's, to a certain degree, it's a manageable combination of the two. I find, is the best outcome. It's all like, try not to snack as much, in which case you're not taking in as many calories. When you do snack, try healthier alternatives. Before I was snacking on things like bagels and crumpets and cakes, biscuits, that kind of thing. No, it's fine. Don't worry about hijacking the stream. To a certain degree, this is what I kind of, I don't mind this thing happening from time to time, because it's one of them things where it's like, I like to discuss these things. But yeah, for me, I've basically cut out all of the high-calorie snacks and gone for fruits and nuts. And I've also started exercising, not really doing anything excessive. I mean, it's a half-hour walk in a massive 3-kilometer circle twice a day, 4 days a week. So it's 2 days, take a rest for 1 day, 2 days, take a rest for the weekend, back round to Monday. And that way, it's manageable for me. And by cutting down on the high calorie intake of the snacks, then hopefully I should, in time, because this is the other thing, is like there's a lot of expectations. It's like the moment you go on a diet, then your weight starts going down. It's like, no, your body then starts to think that it's in a period of famine and starts processing the food slower, so it tries to retain as much. It's only when you actually maintain a new diet for an extended period of time does the body realize it's like, okay, this is now the new normal, and we can survive on this. We don't need to retain all of this. And then it starts easing off, and you start burning fat, and eventually your weight will start coming down. That's how you do it gradually, which is a lot better than trying to do it in extreme circumstances of, for example, losing 2 stone in 2 months. But yeah, again, if you want further information on this, I highly recommend going seeing a doctor or nutritional specialist and listening to them, and not just, going online and going, hey, what's the best way of losing weight? That very rarely works out. Anyway, I'm pretty much wrapping up the stream here, but I do like to do everything on the stream. I think that's most of that stuff sold. Does Tristan want to speak some more? Absolutely important thing to say is that the soups I talked about are full meal replacement with nutrients included, but with very low energy content. Yeah, they do sound like either specialized or tailored soups. Because one of the things about cutting anything out of a diet, especially if you're doing it for the sake of a diet, humble gift from an admirer, Rod of Death. Thank you for your creations, Taddy Bye. You do have to be mindful, if you stop eating something, what nutritional value are you also potentially removing? For example, calcium is useful when for bones and whatnot. So, when you start taking away things like coffee, which has milk in it, where are you now getting your calcium from? There's other places like cheeses, but you might not be somebody who enjoys cheeses. Who knows? Where is... I'm going to have to look for him next time, because I do actually need to be off. I need to go shopping for my week's shopping. So we are going to be calling the stream here. So let us save, as always. Let us switch back to just talking while I look for somebody to raid. don't know if anybody is streaming at the moment, but let's have a quick gander. There's bound to be somebody streaming. I just don't know whom. Still don't know who you are. So I need to go check out your channel. Gotta raid Krifu. Friend of mine from over on Manapot Studios. And that reminds me that I need to do my end of stream summary. I will be back on Thursday playing more Pathfinder Kingmaker. On Friday I'll be playing Kitman 3, going through the elusive targets. I do believe there's a new one out this week. I will be back Mondays for the time being playing Cyberpunk 2077, and Tuesdays playing Pathfinder Kingmaker. Check my schedule below. On Saturdays, I play with another streamer, Mancat_UK, over on his channel, playing whatever co-op game we fancy that weekend. And also, sometime, I do believe towards the end of May, me and Krifu of Manapot Studios are going to be starting a new actual play live stream for a Starfinder adventure path. The adventure path is going to be fly free or die. Don't really know too many more details on that at the moment. I will let everybody know once I know more details. But at the same token, that's likely to replace my Cyberpunk 2077 stream, and it won't be on my channel, it'll be over on Manapot Studios. But like I say, once I know more, I'll be making sure that everybody gets their announcements. Hope to see you all next time. Tidy bye for now.